All right, everybody, we're live with episode number 6 of our Backwoods Fishing Podcast, and we want to start out by thanking all of our partners. We want to thank B&B Custom Outdoors, AA Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, Tangled Trout Cabin Rentals, and we got a new sponsor that has come on board with us, my good buddy Sean Simpson with Simpson Trucking and Grading. So we want to thank all those guys, and got my good friend Brandon Davis in the house with us tonight.
Excited to be here.
The trolling, the summertime trolling guru. I've already learned stuff, and he ain't been here for 30 minutes. So I think we're gonna have a good episode here tonight. So we'll give everybody time to get in here with us, and so we'll start out by letting Brandon introduce himself and tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. So I've been guiding on Lake Lanier, Lake Hartwell since the late 90s. So I've been in this game for a while and seen a lot of changes on these lakes, and it's getting so good. Some of our fisheries around here they're just exploding. So seeing great size on Lanier right now. Hartwell's doing great, got good numbers of hybrids, and great striper population. They're really growing. It's just, I'm excited for where fishing's come.
Yeah, it's Hartwell. I was going to talk to you a little bit about Hartwell. We fished at Shannon in the wintertime, in winter and spring, but we've never fished Hartwell summertime.
Yeah.
So we're depending on you to teach us a little bit about Hartwell in the summertime.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest difference in spring to summer transition there?
Hartwell on the south end, it's split into, I call it 2 lakes. You've got the river systems that go up where the river forks, where the Tugelo and the Seneca head up, and then you've got right there where the rivers come together is where the Savannah River starts.
Right.
That's channel marker 1.
Right.
So they fish, to me, quite a bit different.
Yeah.
So they're really, summer patterns, they're really migrating south.
Yeah.
That south end, if you're visible to the dam, you're in the right area.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of like Lanier.
Yeah.
People say we're catching fish below Brown's Bridge. Well, that's a lot of area.
That's a lot of area.
But I understand what people are saying. The fish have migrated
Right.
down on that end of the lake.
Right.
Probably because of the water quality that time of year.
1,000%. Same thing on Hartwell. Water quality, you got the depth. Hartwell and Lanier fish very similar.
Yeah.
Very more similar than you would think.
Yeah.
So they've got great water quality on the south end. That thermocline really starts getting set in that 25, 35, 40 foot range.
Right.
But they're very, very similar. And some of these tactics we get to talk about tonight, they're good on every lake here in Georgia.
So is that what other lakes do you fish besides Hartwell and Lanier?
Those are the main ones I go to.
Yeah.
But I go down to Lake Oconee, on those hybrids and stripers there.
Yep.
This works right there.
Yep.
Sinclair. Everywhere I've taken this, it works.
Yeah. So go ahead. Let's see. We've already got. Look, I hadn't even been paying attention, but we got some people comment. Looks like you got some family on here.
I do. I see Aunt Billy's chimed in. I appreciate that. A little family support.
Yeah, we got Captain Hooks in the house. We got Brian Avery. We got Keith McKinnon. So we appreciate all these guys tuning in. And so go ahead, Brandon, and let's go ahead and start talking about it. I'm ready to dive into this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and start talking about this.
All right. Well,
let's learn something here.
Absolutely.
About this thing. You go ahead. You take the floor.
All right. Well, I appreciate it again. So there's going to be 3 methods that we're really going to talk about I call it more controlled depth trolling than than a vague term trolling.
Right.
Electronics are a key.
Yeah.
That's my number 1 tool.
Yeah.
So, people ask me, well, how many, we'll talk about lead core line. That's going to be what we talk about first. And this is my basic lead core setup.
Yep.
We've got a Captain Mac mustard stick, and I run the cold water Okumas, and the key to that is the high speed. I've gone to these high speed because, I'm fishing 250, 300 foot of line.
Yeah, I've got this same exact setup for trolling umbrella rigs
Yes.
and which I don't do lead core much.
Right.
But it's hard to beat this Captain Max setup and this cold water reel.
It is wonderful, and it's changed the game for me because you get on some of those old 4.3 retrieve big reels, buddy. It takes forever.
Yeah.
It'll wear a client out, and myself getting them in and moving spots. So. So this is my basic lead core setup. It holds, I use the micro. So lead core comes in two sizes. You've got your standard size and micro.
Yep.
Micros come a long way as far as being able to use a little smaller reel, more manageable. And lead core comes in, a lot of people may or may not know this, and if I'm redundant, I'm sorry about that, but it comes in 100-meter spools, and each color is 10 meters.
Right.
So that's kind of your breakdown on that.
So that gives people an idea when you're talking about when somebody says we're running 8 colors or 9 colors back. That kind of gives you
10 meters is a color. And
that's correct.
Change of color is another 10 meters.
Yeah, that's right. So when we're you'll talk to the old guys like myself. Now that line counters have come around, that's helped a lot too. As far as getting precise, knowing your equipment, getting it back to, well, that last bite came at 310 feet back, so it helps you lock in.
Gives you something to go back to.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
so Jason said, "Don't be telling all your secrets." But
yeah, he'll be upset with me. Jason gets out here and helps me do a lot of testing on some of my wacky ideas at the time.
So, is it something that you feel like you're always learning something with it? I mean,
constantly. Constantly.
It's always changing, ain't it? That's with any technique or something you're doing. It's always changing and evolving.
And that's what I've done is, I know for a fact I can take this, chipmunk jig of Captain Max. I can take his underspin that I'll show in a little bit. I know those are going to go catch fish.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to see what else is out there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'll say this to people too. I'm not really a troller. Now I will troll umbrella rigs in the wintertime when the water's really cold. I have done this. This is how I mean, when I first started striper fishing on Lake Lanier, Jim Farmer showed me how to troll lead core and how to troll umbrella rigs and everything. And really, that's how we kind of got started. Because, and I'm gonna tell you what I've used this trolling for more than anything is going to new lakes. I've used it for a search tool. If I don't know where the fish are at, I'll put out trolling gear and I'll just troll till we find something.
1000%. This complements live bait.
Yeah.
Summertime, and I can't stress this enough. I've talked to a lot of the guys that fish. I'm like, keep these two in your boat when you're out, looking for that school of stripers in the summertime. When you're looking for it, get some out because you're not going to drop. We're not going to drop on those 2s and 3s that we see.
Yeah.
They'll eat that though. I look for the 2s and 3s. They're the ones out hunting.
Well, and I'm gonna tell you something else I experienced one time on Lake Chateau with hybrids. No stripers in there, just hybrids.
Right.
But we went up there to fish a little tournament that we had. It's been about 4 years ago now, and we had no idea where to go. So we put umbrella rigs out. We started trolling. We started marking a few fish. We hooked up on one umbrella, hooked up on the other umbrella. While we was fighting those fish, I look down and all of a sudden the whole school shows up.
It does.
So we put them in the boat and we just start dropping down lines and catching fish. So
100%.
This will work, like you said, hand in hand with the live bait.
1000%.
So,
you shouldn't go in the summertime without lead core or something that trolls because you're wasting time riding, burning gas when you can be fishing and catching fish.
Yep. Keeping something in the water.
Keeping something in the water.
Yeah, I like it, man. And I'll tell you something else too that I just thought about. Now this doesn't really apply for you guys, but for us up here, we don't have really any bait shops. And bait is an issue up here this time of year. It's hot. Sometimes it can be hard to catch bait.
That's right.
I mean, we have times where I'm not gonna say that I've ever had a time where I couldn't catch any bait.
Right.
But I've struggled to catch maybe as much bait as I wanted to, or as good a bait as I wanted to. So for like myself, for Captain Hook, for Lynn, all these guys that fish around here, Carter's and Notley, this is a good backup plan. If you run out of bait, and your trip ain't over,
That's right.
you can put this out. So you can use this for a lot of different ways, even if it's not your primary thing to do. So Keith McKinnon said he hates lead core. And I guess probably one reason why people feel that way is it because you have so much line out.
Yeah.
And if you hook a smaller fish, it's just not really, there's not really any fight because it's so far out.
And I agree with that. And it is, luckily these fish have gotten bigger, but to your point, these smaller fish, it's kind of pulling, you're winching them in.
Yeah.
And that's the, that's
By
the
the time you get them halfway in, they just give up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you hook a 15, 20 pounder,
they don't quit.
You're going to have a good fight on
They don't quit. They don't quit.
So I'm going to tell Keith, you need to go find some bigger fish then. I'm kidding. So he said he used downplaners on Saturday. That's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've heard about for a long time, but I've never actually used it. I've used downriggers, and from what Brandon was explaining to us, this downplaner is basically what'd you call it? A poor man's downrigger?
Poor man's downrigger.
Well, I like it because to me it don't take up as much space on your boat.
Well, so the reason I use that like you and I talked about, I captained down in Destin as well. So this is a saltwater tactic that I've brought up here to striper fishing.
Yeah,
and it's paid off monster dividends for me.
It makes sense because striper is a saltwater fish.
That's right.
So I mean, a lot of those same things apply. So let's so you've already taught some people that are on here, Keith.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
go ahead and tell everybody a little bit. Explain to everybody about how this downplaner, because I got a feeling there's a lot of people on here that don't know how this works.
This is going to be some questions, I believe. Before we move that, can I talk before I move on to the lead core?
Yeah.
So a lot of people want to know what your basic setup is. You want a little bit of backing. I run 20-pound backing on my lead core.
Mono.
Okay. Because there are times I've got 10 colors out.
Yeah.
I've got 10 colors. So you gotta have a little bit. You gotta have a little backing on there.
Yeah.
And then now my leader line right now, I'm running 20-pound fluorocarbon. I run about 20 feet. I know that but I cut it long because if I'm retying things like that, something gets chafed, it makes it easy, and I'm not having to go tie leaders on all the time. So I'll make a little longer one, and as it shortens up, I had one I had to change out the other day. It was about that long.
Yeah.
So you usually start out with them as
about 20 foot.
20 foot long.
Yeah. It's and that way you can keep cutting it and retying it for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's hard to go wrong with a Captain Mac bucktail and a chartreuse trailer.
Oh boy. And another key that I do, so I run a stinger hook, and I'll tell you why. This week, yesterday, I took my wife and daughter out. We were playing on the lake, and I said, I need to check some fish.
Yeah.
So every one of these, so your standard hooks right there, and you got a lot of trailer. They were swiping at it yesterday. They weren't fully committed to it.
Yeah.
Well, every fish that I caught yesterday was on that back hook. And
wow.
this is one, I buy it on Amazon. It's a looped trailer.
Yeah, you slide over there.
I just slide it. Yep, I just slide it right over, and there it is. And that red helps too, as far as a little attractant. And I just let it roll right there, and it's easy to take off and change your trailers. So
big gitter shad's not the only thing you run a stinger hook.
No sir, no sir.
I've actually, I don't think I've ever used it I don't think I've ever used a stinger trailer line like that on it.
Because a lot of times if you're trolling, you'll see your rod pop. He's grabbed the tail.
Yep.
And that's what it is.
Yep.
You'll see that rod tip just hit. Oh, I wonder if I hit a tree. No,
you reel it up, and your trailer's almost pulled off.
That's
the hook,
right. It's pulled down, and they pull the pants off.
Yeah.
So
you run two of these when you're pulling lead core.
Mm-hmm.
You run two of them, and I'm guessing I'm just going off what I've done in the past. Until you get out there and key in on them and figure out how many colors back and kind of see what depth they are. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're probably putting one. Say you put 8 colors and 10 colors.
That's right.
Is that how you approach it?
That's right. So right now, they're still in that, I know for Lanier, I can speak to Lanier and Hartwell. I'm hitting, that 25 to 30 foot mark is where I'm seeing a lot of action right now. As the summer progresses, you gotta, again, like I said, that your depth finder is, that's your number one tool.
Yeah.
That's telling me where to set this bait.
Yeah.
So chipmunk jigs work great. And underspans have been good in the mini max, the little some people call them Alabama rigs, stuff like that. They,
What about spoons on this lead core?
pull them.
Yeah.
Be quiet about it.
It's too late now. We done told everybody. We done told everybody.
Yeah.
So Shannon, have you got any questions for Brandon on this lead core thing before we move on? I was done getting ahead. I was joking.
No,
I want to know about this because I love planer board fishing. All right.
So y'all kind of talked about a little negative about it. What's the positive about using lead core?
So I like it. It goes hand in hand with what we're about to talk about.
Okay.
And it also goes hand in hand with downriggers.
All right.
Because you're fishing these 250 and 300 foot back.
All right.
And there's a lot of chatter about downriggers, downplaners. Does it spook the fish when it comes through? Don't know. But these are far enough back that it gives them time to forget about that as well.
Well, that's exactly what I was fixing to say. Was one of the advantages I can see to it. We know how spooky these fish can be sometimes with being up under the boat, and that's one thing. I've even put down lines with live baits on planer boards and just get them out away from the boat. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
So with this, you're 250, 300 foot behind the boat.
That's right.
So the fish has already had time to kind of forget about the boat passing over it.
100%.
And by the time that bait gets there. So that's the advantages I can see to it. I think the reason why Keith and some of these guys, saying that they hate lead core, it's just because you've got so much line out the back. And I will tell you this, it can be tricky at Lanier on the weekends
Oh, yeah,
when people are running around everywhere.
Yeah,
you better make sure you got them down deep so somebody don't. But I mean, I know people's had their lines run over before.
Absolutely.
Having 300 foot of line out, boats running around everywhere. So there's pros and cons to it.
There are.
Just like any other kind of technique you do.
Okay.
Somebody said that you hate live bait. Is that true?
This time of year, I kind of do.
Well, I can see that. It's tough.
Well,
I mean, it's tough
when
to
I have
keep
the
it.
confidence to say I can get up and be on the water in my boat and not have to stop and either buy bait, catch bait, keep it alive, dump ice, and I can compete most days with live bait guys.
Yeah.
So guys, it's a confidence thing, but I can't stress enough. This is a tool. Whether you like it or not, it's a tool.
Yeah.
Use it as a search tool. Use it when those fish shut down, when that early morning bite is strong. Well, what are you going to do? You're just going to sit there and watch downline rod tips till 12 until it's time to go home? Not when, I caught these fish yesterday from 10 until 11. And on Lanier on the south end. With boat traffic already.
On the lead core.
On lead core.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this right now: when you're pulling this lead core, are you targeting main river channel, or are you hitting points off the main lake, or what's your
creek channel mouse?
Creek channel mouse.
I like the creek channel mouse. I will say this: I caught them in the river channel yesterday. I went and checked a river channel in a bend.
Yep.
I love bends and river channels.
Yep.
I'm looking. I like to. Now I play with disaster sometimes and go over a little bit of timber, where it's topped out. So I love fishing over timber. Now you're gonna lose some stuff, but the juice is worth the squeeze to me.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I said, I mean that's I learned how to striper fish with Jim Farmer on the south end of Lake Lanier, like mouth of Bald Ridge, all that down there, trolling. He's the one that taught me how to do all this stuff. And it's like I said, man, summertime, they quit hitting live bait. You got boat traffic everywhere. Your downlines are sitting there bouncing up and down. Your bait don't look natural anyway. Yeah. The bite's getting slow. Yeah. It's hey, I'm a live bait guy. Yeah. I'll fish live bait till I just can't fish it. Until they just won't bite.
I understand.
Shannon knows what I'm talking about.
I do.
But I had a day up there at Carter's last winter where we fished live bait till I give it as much time as I could. I mean, I fished live, and I was fishing live baits from this big to this big, and they wouldn't touch none of it. And I fished it till 10:30, 11 o'clock. Finally, I got willing to put out umbrella rigs and started pulling the main river channel with umbrella rigs on Carter's now. And we went from what was going to be basically a skunk day to catching like 8 or 9 good fish, stripers and hybrids on umbrella rigs.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand that, you know, the big umbrella rigs or these big trolling rods, it takes away a little bit from the fight. But you got to understand, when you got customers on the
They
boat,
just want to catch fish.
you're in the last hour or
That's
two
right.
of the trip, you got to do what you got to do to put fish in the boat.
You want some rods bent.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
So
Yeah.
you guys have talked about 2 different rigs. You talked about an Alabama rig and you talked about the umbrella rig. What's the difference?
We call them mini max.
Mini Mac.
Right.
Okay, so what's the difference between the Mini Mac and the umbrella rig?
So the Mini Mac is a small version. It looks like a group of thread fin. If you've got a thread fin population in your lake, in your body water, that's
So
a
the
great
color of your
trailers. Yeah,
matter.
they're a lot smaller. You know, they're your 2.5, 3 inch bait. And they're clustered together. It's a 5-arm rig, and you know the ones I like have the little spinners on them as well, so a little more flash. And
attention grabbers.
That's right. And when they're keyed in on small bait, you can't beat that. You can't beat a Mini Mac. I'm telling you, when they're keyed in on that, and you've seen it with red fin stripers and hybrids will key in on that bait.
So you got five hooks.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most fish you've ever caught on those 5?
On a Mini Mac, I've caught 3, and umbrella, I've caught 5.
Wow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So last winter, we put max umbrella rigs to the test. We I guess you could say tripled up. Both rods went off.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 15-pounders on one rig,
Yep.
which would have been 30 pounds of striper on one rig.
Right.
And then we had another a single fish on the other rig that was like an 18, 19-pound fish.
Yep.
And I mean, it everything held up. We put his umbrella rigs to the test. So, yeah, Alex Green now, he's an artificial guy too.
Oh.
Somebody said big swim baits work also. Is
They
that
do.
So you
They
don't
do.
you use more than just these.
Yes, absolutely. When I'm trolling summertime, I've got quite a smorgasbord out there for them, and we'll talk more, about that and depths and things like that I've kind of figured out, last year with this downplaner that we're about to talk about.
So you pull a spread of artificial stuff just like we pull a spread of live bait.
It's like you guys pull, it's like us in the wintertime when we're out there, we've got some gizzards out, we got bluebacks, and we've got some trout.
Yeah.
There's no difference when what I'm doing as well.
Yeah.
And
you're mixing it up.
I'm mixing it up.
You're mixing it up,
I'm
and
letting them tell me.
And I'm sure you're paying attention as the day goes to what they're keying in on or what they're liking that day, and you're adjusting accordingly.
When I see what they're eating yesterday, it was this bait, this one right here, and an underspin. They didn't touch the Mini Mac yesterday, but tomorrow could be reversed.
Yeah.
So
I tell you what too, I've had good luck putting those 8-10 inch Ben Parker spoons on that lead core.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, you get that thing way behind the boat, and
Yep.
it's sitting there doing this number right here in the thermocline. You pull that thing through enough fish, it's going to get hit. They can't resist that spoon. I mean,
It's shiny.
So do you feel like that pretty much all this trolling stuff is reaction bite?
it is.
It's not that they're coming up here and saying, "Oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to eat this bucktail
right.
jig." It's just a reaction bite.
So-
You're trolling what, 2.5? 3?
So it depends on your boat. I have mine. I've got a 28-foot clear water, and I have twins. So wintertime, I slow down. I only run one motor, so that's getting me about 2.3, 2.4. And then I'm running twins. I'm running both motors in the summer. That's getting me about 3 to 3.3.
Okay.
Yep.
So you got 2 motors on your boat. So you was telling us earlier that your setup. I didn't really. I knew that you fished down there, but I didn't know you chartered in Destin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you do chartering in Destin, on Lake Lanier, and Hartwell.
Yeah.
So Brandon, tell everybody a little bit. We'll take a break on this. Tell everybody a little bit about your guide service. What's the name of this bitch?
Bent Rods Charter Company, and like I said, I'm on Lanier and Hartwell, and then I have most of my clients are from up here that come down and fish with me in Destiny. So so that's kind of what that's most of my clientele down there.
Yeah.
But
So somebody asked, are we throwing the umbrella rig on braid? Well, Matt, what we're talking about right here is trolling.
mm-hmm.
We're not talking about casting.
Right.
I mean, if I was going to be casting number one, there's no way you can cast an umbrella rig. Now,
No.
A-rig, what people call an A-rig, what we call a mini-mac.
Yes.
I've always just threw it with heavy mono.
Yeah.
Braid will work too.
Either one. Same thing. You know, a lot of people like to troll with, you know, the lead core that I'm talking about. You know, that's a specific, you know, it's weighted. You've got lead and it's wrapped, you know, with a nylon coating.
Mm-hmm.
Sinks at a given rate based on what your weight of your lure is, stuff like that.
So for people that don't know, this line right here, it's got lead weight made into the line.
To make it heavy.
To make the line heavy and make it sink.
That's right.
And so somebody said to ask you, Jason Watkins said to ask Brandon what happened to him last year in the Captain Mac tournament.
Lost some fish.
Lost some fish.
And he beat me.
Oh, man.
He beat on me a little bit.
I ain't believing he'd call you out on
He will.
that.
He will. That's what buddies do. That's what buddies do.
Well, hey, I mean, that happens, man. I mean, that's just the way it is. Would you lose them to the trees? Or they just coming off? Or?
They come in button.
Yeah.
And I didn't go fish where I needed to go fish,
Well,
and he did.
And don't it suck? And then you got people, they're like, customers are like, are you sure these hooks are good? Are these hooks sharp?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's brand new stuff. I mean, you know, it just happens.
Say, no, it's a paper clip. That's all I use.
Sometimes the way fish hit and the way they get hooked up, and these stripers, man, they pull hard. So if they're barely hooked and they make a hard run, they just rip the hook out.
It does.
That's common. I mean, and you have days where you lose more than you catch.
Customers put their thumb on the spool and try to stop.
Like was that your uncle or?
That was my wife, her brother.
Okay.
My brother.
Well, and one of the things too, you know, you got to think you got a boat that's going 3 miles an hour one direction, and the striker's going to hit it the other direction, and it's you know, that's a pretty big tug, you know.
Hey, scroll back up a minute, Ty. I think I missed. Alex said the migrations to cool water refuges have to take away from the main lake fishing as well. That's an interesting comment. I'll have to think on that a minute, Alex. I mean, you know, this time of year, I mean, fish are going to go to colder water. And for Lanier, for Hartwell, it's a thermocline thing. It's a 25, 30-foot thermocline thing, which works out perfect for this. So, but for Carter's Lake, whole different ballgame. We don't have a thermocline. I've never seen a thermocline set up. I mean, you might see fish come up to 30 foot, but you might, I'll tell you this, just in the last week or 2 weeks, I've caught fish 30 foot deep.
90.
And I've caught fish 90 foot deep. Your dad and them, the day that we took your dad and them, we caught fish 90 foot deep. Now that was later in the day, you know, but those fish a lot of times will be on the bottom, 70,
Coming out
80.
of the timber, like you said, they were in those timbers really, really deep.
Yeah. So to get, and that we'll touch a little bit about you know, the Carter's Lake fishing report. I wanted to give everybody a little bit of a report and follow up on what you said earlier.
Right.
We're definitely in summertime pattern.
Right.
I mean, there's no doubt, but it's changing from day to day. I mean, like today we caught them on 30, 40 foot bottoms off points. That didn't last long. As soon as the sun come out, they start moving out in deeper water, out over trees. That's one thing, you know, this time of year. Don't be scared to fish over timber. You've already said you love fishing over standing timber.
I love to see them. You know,
don't be scared to fish over standing timber. Even though you might lose fish, that's going to hold a lot of fish this time of year.
You know, and when you're doing enough riding, and you know, especially when you're trolling, like we talked about a search tool. If you're riding in these areas that are, you know, that normally are holding fish, and you're not seeing them, you better go start looking over the timber. Because that's where they're at. 100%.
I've told people that over and over and over at Carter's. They're like, well, this lake's not small. You know, it shouldn't be hard to find them. But listen, that lake is full of flooded timber. Them fish, they got a lot of places they can hide. You know, we'll pull out there over them trees, drop baits out, maybe start thumping the boat. You'll see them come up out of the trees. And you're going to lose fish. But I'm gonna throw this out there and give everybody a pointer that's helped me with live bait fishing over trees. When you hook up on a big striper and you're sitting on top of timber, you know what the end result's going to be if that fish is running straight down. So the only way I found to try to avoid it and to help me land more fish is to take off with the trolling motor wide open. I mean, rapid, take off. and you'll pull that line up with the boat, and then you get him up in the water column, and then you can fight the fish. If you set on top of that fish, it's game over.
Look, and that's one of the huge benefits of trolling. It's when you're doing that.
You're already doing it.
You're already doing it, and so the first thing that fish is going to do is come up.
Yeah.
So losing them to trees happens very rarely.
Yeah.
And that is a perk, a big benefit of trolling, because you don't lose them to trees often.
Yeah. So like I said, Carter's has been changing from day to day. I mean, we've had days where fishing up on the points, 30, 40 foot depths have been good, but there's also been days on real clear sunny days, they've been out on 90 foot bottoms or even out in those channels where it drops off deeper. We've caught some in like 140 foot of water, but they'd be out over the treetops. We're just dropping our baits to 50 foot. See, that's the difference in Carter's and like Lanier and Hartwell. You drop a blueback to 50 foot on Lanier right now, it's dead because of that thermocline.
Yep.
But Carter's, you can drop them anywhere you want to in the water column. I mean, past, say, 25 foot or lower, they're fine. You know, so that's why I say that there's not really ever been a thermocline set up at Carter's.
Yeah.
And I think that's why maybe this technique has never really been a go-to there.
Right.
Because it's very rare that you have fish setting up at 25, 30 foot.
That's right.
Now, Lake Notley, different ball game.
Right.
There's a thermocline, just like the lakes he fishes. And this right here can, like I say, this when you can't keep bait alive, or you run out of bait, or you can't get bait or whatever, this is a good backup. Or it could be a good, main
search
thing.
tool
Great search tool.
Great search tool. Or you might be like Brandon and just prefer to do this all day. And if people are catching fish, why not?
But I'll tell you, a lot of my guide trips, I keep a couple dozen blueback with me. When I circle and find that mega school, I'm gonna reel them up and go drop them.
Yeah,
we're gonna go catch
it's
6
hard
out
not
of
to.
We're gonna go catch 5 or 6 of them out of there, and then when that school bust up,
chase them down with this.
we're gonna chase them down with this.
Yeah.
So
Barry Elrod, that big one that your wife hooked and lost in the trees at Carter's that year. Oh yeah, don't remind me of that, Barry. That fish has haunted me for years and years. Y'all just got to come back where we can redeem ourselves.
That's right.
Somebody asked who taught you how to fish.
You see that last name on there, don't you?
Yeah.
That's my father.
That's your father.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So he got me out there. I learned I was a river rat. That's where I learned to fish. River rat and farm ponds.
Yeah.
And so I give a lot of credit to him. One, just getting me out there and doing it, and then I kind of took the lake fishing on my own and ran, but he got me the love of it for sure, and I appreciate that.
Well, and there was another guy that you mentioned here earlier that has had a big effect on your fishing career, and we want to make mention of that too. I'll let you do that.
Well, Captain Mac, a lot of this product right here, and he was my mentor. When you're a young 20s kid wanting to get into the guiding business, that was hard to do.
Yeah.
That was hard to do, and I'll tell you, he really helped me when others would not. And I tell everyone he's my mentor. Always has been. He's always going to be my mentor.
Yeah.
And he's the one that taught me to troll this. I remember I was guiding out of a bass boat back in the day, and he's like, Brandon, get this rig right here and put your 2 rod holders on and go. Yeah. And I was catching 20 fish a day doing this.
So this is something you've been doing since the 90s.
90s.
Yeah, and I mean, you've learned from the best. In my opinion, Mac is.
He's the godfather.
He's the one that makes this stuff.
Yep.
I mean, he's
So
the
now
man.
you're just dialing it in and dialing it in and dialing it in.
And we talk on a weekly basis about, hey, let's try this. Let's try. He's still wanting to know more.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
always learning.
He's always learning and trying new things, and he's been he's been obsessed with this little tool that we're about to talk about in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But I want to give a big shout out to Mac. I mean, he's really always helped me. He's a phone call away. Yeah. And this guy, buddy, he's a fisherman.
Oh yeah.
And and I just want everybody to he's going through some treatments right now. I talked to him today. He sounds very upbeat. And so, you know, I just ask everybody to keep him in your thoughts and prayers because he's one of the good ones.
Yeah, you won't meet a better guy than Mac Farr, and you know he has helped so many people through the years, like yourself and me. I mean, between Mac and Bill Carson, I mean they've helped the striper community. Just, I mean, I can't even put it into words how big a help they've been to everybody. And like you said, you know, a lot of guys don't want to talk to anybody, and I get that side of it too. But Mac's not one of those guys.
Nope.
I mean, if he can help you, he'll help you. That's the way he's always been. So yeah, y'all remember Mac. I know he's been going through, you know, some tough stuff, but we've been thinking about him and praying for him.
Drop him some love, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a wonderful human being.
Yeah. Yeah, somebody said he's the OG. Yeah, I'd say, you know, for me, I mean, as far as Lake Lanier goes, you know, Captain Mac, you know, Dale Sheets, you know, those were the OGs.
Those are the ones that
and there's a couple other guys too. You know, Doug Youngblood. There's a couple other guys too that kind of, you know, that kind of set the bar for everybody.
They are and taught a lot of people. I can tell you now, Lanier striper fishing would not be where it is now without those guys that you just mentioned. And you know, they have a special place in my heart for sure.
Because you know, whenever they started out, striper fishing wasn't as popular then as it was now.
No.
So you know that a lot of these things they really had to dig into and get out there and just figure out the hard way, just trial and error.
They did the hard work for us.
They really did. That's exactly right.
They did the hard work for us.
Yeah, they've helped the learning curve for us on a lot of different things. And you know, Mac and Bill, they helped me with my. Are you a hummingbird guy?
Ooh, I can be, Bill.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked you.
No, I'm a Simrad guy.
You got Simrad, okay? So one of the guys that works for us, Lynn, that's what he has. He's Simrad. He loves it. I was a Lowrance guy just because the first boat I bought, that's what I had. But I was converted. Mac and Bill Carson, they converted me to Hummingbird.
They're beautiful.
And I'll be honest with you, after being converted to the Hummingbird,
don't lie.
The bird don't lie.
The bird don't. Hey, I've been on them, and they impressed me quite a bit. They really do.
Yeah. Somebody said Mac's a Hall of Famer. So
he is.
That may be something we might look into. We might should start a
Striped Bass Hall of Fame.
Striped Bass Hall of Fame.
Well, he got inducted into the Georgia Fishing Hall of Fame.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's a big honor in my opinion. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the thing about Mac is he's not just helped striper fishermen. I mean, he's helped, like you say, this stuff, these products that he makes, it works in salt water for different fish. Y'all proved that time and time again. Yeah. So I mean, it's not just striper fishing. I mean, Mac he's known by a lot of people all over.
Yes.
So we appreciate everything that he's done for all of us. And I want to talk about this.
All right.
It'd be nice if we knew it was going to happen. We could say we'll be right back.
All right, guys, we're back. We had to take a little break to change up our gear setup, but no, really we lost Wi-Fi signal again. It seems to happen every time. But we're back on here, so hopefully everybody will come back on here with us. We apologize for all that, but we're gonna start talking. We'll give a few minutes, give everybody time to come back in on this one.
Let's go back and say all that again. Sorry about the technical difficulties again. We're trying.
Yep.
We thought we had it worked out.
We're trying, but I tell y'all, I've already learned a lot from Brandon, and I knew that he learned from the best, and that he does this stuff more than anybody, you know, and that's what it takes. I mean, that's why I feel like you mentioned confidence earlier.
Yeah.
I'm confident in live bait because it's what I do. It's what I've always done. I feel like I'm not going to say perfected it, but that's, you know, I tell customers when they call, I get people call and say, we're going to go fly fishing. I say, no, I specialize in live bait fishing for striped bass, hybrids, spotted bait, whatever. And so that's, we're back, Brian. We're sorry, everybody. We had another Wi-Fi problem. I'm not sure what the deal is on that, but we already got people starting to come back in here with us.
Hey, when you go back and watch us on YouTube, we don't have any technical difficulties when we post it to our YouTube channel. So
the YouTube
go
thing will be smooth.
Subscribe, check us out on YouTube.
Subscribe.
New content coming.
Yeah, we're trying to to build our YouTube channel up, and we just launched our video with the Lonesome River Band And that turned out good.
Yeah,
so,
I got to watch that last night.
We had a great time with those guys, and we're finishing up our
catfish video.
Yeah, we had a striper trip to Tennessee that turned into it was kind of a 3-stage thing. It went from we tried to catch stripers and we caught a few, but it wasn't great. We mixed it up and tried something different, ended up catching drum.
Yeah.
And that didn't satisfy, so we ended up at another place and we caught big catfish.
Oh yeah.
So we ended
Big
up
catfish.
That's fun.
and we was telling people on here back in spring, we're going to Tennessee to do a striper fishing video, and it just didn't work out. We ended up doing a catfishing video.
Well, you know, we go up there every year, you know, and same thing. It was just a slower late spring for us up there.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't as good as years past either. So
yeah, I think June. I think it picked up. You know,
Yeah.
like you say, late spring, early summer.
Yeah, we usually go the end of April, 1st of May, and it was just it was a little. They were a little sluggish.
Yeah.
They were behind.
That's when we was
That's
there.
when we were there.
The end of April.
Yep.
So let's I'll tell you all this too. If you can see that we're sweating up here. We're trying to get in shape for the dog days of summer we got coming up.
That's right.
Now, our air conditioning's working hard, but it just ain't cutting it in this
All
heat
the lights
Yep.
tend to make it a little bit
That's
hot
right.
up here.
and humidity. So, but
Yep.
anyway, I want to dig into this
All
this
right.
down planer right here, and I think there's a lot of people that doesn't know this
Yeah.
technique. So,
So
Brandon,
we're gonna talk about it. We're
Sure.
gonna go into some good detail with
Yeah.
it. So I'll show this. This is called a Sea Striker. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them at tackle stores. This is primarily used saltwater technique. But I knew after using the saltwater, I said there's some merit to this for freshwater strikers.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So we use this a lot, and this is trolling for kings when they're subsurface and things like that.
Right.
A lot of trolling, grouper fishing in the wintertime when they're coming up. There's a lot of merit to this trolling. A lot of people, they use that, it's tied onto your line right here by that O, and you're trolling through, and then your leader line is tagged through this hole and tied to your leader in the back. When it hits, it does that, and you pull it in, and then when you get it up, it's you attach it with a snap swivel, take it off, and you kind of have to hand line it in.
Right.
So to me, I was like, that's not going to work for striper fishing. So, but this gets baits down at a constant level. Again, consistent, controlled depth trolling, and that's what we do. So my rig here, pretty simple. I call this the poor man's downrigger. So these are this is the number 5 Sea Striker. It's a good common. I have all sizes, but with this rig, I know exactly what I'm running, and we're going to talk about that.
How many of these do you run at one time?
2.
Just one on each side.
One on each side.
Okay.
Hooked to the boat cleat with a little carabiner. Hook it right to my boat cleat, and it goes straight down.
Okay.
So this is, and I'm going to tell us all about the pros and cons to it. So I'll put this out. This is on 50 foot of 200-pound mono. 200. You can use braid. It doesn't matter. I use mono. It doesn't wrap. It doesn't tangle as easy. Stuff like that.
Right.
So that is in the set position, and when it's tied to your boat, you're at about that angle right there.
Yep.
Okay. So that's just going to stay. It's just going to be just kind of put it at that high angle, and that's how it's going to run. So that stays hooked to your boat cleat, doesn't move, doesn't do anything, stays down.
This is what he's saying. This is hooked to the boat, guys. This spool is hooked to the boat.
The end of that spool is going to be hooked to your boat cleat or wherever you
all
want.
this is doing is just getting your bait down to the depth that you want it to be.
So like a big giant sinker almost.
That's right.
But
it
being
planes.
able to plane.
But it planes. Yep. So with 50 foot of line of this mono to that number 5, it's going to run at your normal trolling speed. It's going to run 25 foot.
Right.
That's the best I've tested it. I've taken it over, run it over some humps and see where it triggers.
Right.
So that's how I figured that out.
Right.
So what I do is I'll let whatever bait I'm wanting to go, this one. So I use and I'll use my regular setup 16, 18, 20-pound test, whatever you want to run.
Right.
This is one of Captain Mac's underspins. So I'll let it go back about 75 feet. So that's kind of where I start. You can let it go 50 feet, you can let it go 100 feet. It doesn't matter. I just go 75. That's my starting. So I release the bait, and I'm looking at my line counter. That's where these come into play. And so I'm going to let that go back 75 feet or so. And so when that's back 75 feet, I take the little rubber bands, and I'm going to loop it around your main line.
Yep.
And pull it tight, just so it's not sliding up and down. You don't, if you pull it too hard, it's going to break.
Yep.
Cinch it to your line a little bit, give it a little tug, and that's going to keep your line from sliding up and down.
Right.
Then I'm going to take a paper clip. Everybody thinks, well, oh Lord, what are you doing? So I get so many people on my boat.
Any size paper clip?
Yeah, any size.
Any size.
That doesn't matter. Your rubber band size is going to matter. I like a
Okay.
64,
Right.
something a little thin. So if you'll tighten that up for me and hold it up, so then I take that paper clip and I'm going to clip it right here to that. When I start releasing it, it's going to run, gravity's going to pull the bait and this down here
Yep.
to the end.
Yep.
Okay? So when that,
And then it's running 75 foot behind that.
behind that, that's right.
So if that's going to 25 and then your
Uh-huh.
bait's 75 foot back,
Uh-huh.
You're 25 foot deep, 75 foot.
You're probably running 28 foot.
28 to
Because
30.
you're still running
moving.
at a pretty good pace.
Okay.
Okay. So when that's running, and you're gonna have a little flex in your rod. Okay. It's gonna be just a little bow in it.
Right.
Well, when that fish hits, it's gonna pop that rubber band.
Break the rubber
Now I'm fighting with conventional tackle.
Yeah. And then
So
this is
what
just,
happens to this?
That stays down.
he's got this. He said he's got this hooked to the boat.
That's hooked to the boat. It doesn't move
So
until
it is-
you're ready to pick it up and move locations.
So what happens if this gets hung up while you're fighting fish?
You're not.
Not likely.
No, because remember,
Because it's not going deeper than 25 foot.
and we're trolling at this point.
You're
So
moving.
you're moving. So those.
All right, y'all. Third time is a charm. We're having camera issues. I don't think this is a Wi-Fi issue. This is a camera
It's
issue.
hot up here in our studio.
So I want to put it out there to. I got some friends on here that are HVAC guys, Hunter Hook and Keith McKinnon. I need y'all up here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
We can't it's hot.
To make, it is so hot up here.
Our
We did-
cameras are failing because it's hot.
if I didn't have to fish this morning, we'd have done this morning at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we may have to rethink this next one because it is
It's
hot
hot.
up here. It's just, this is upstairs in my shop and the heat rises. The air conditioning's working as hard as we can. We got fans going. So it's tough. But anyway, we're going to finish it up. We got about 10 more minutes. We're going to finish up what we was talking about with the downplaners.
Yeah.
Pick up where you left off,
All
man.
right. So you know, as you guys saw, we loop it through the main line after you let your lure back. Loop the rubber band through, hook it to a paper clip, and just slide it down that main 200-pound line, and you know, go trolling. And so some things I played with this before. You know, so we know fish are getting deeper throughout the summer.
Yep.
And I was scratching my head on some of that. I was like, there's some fish, a lot of fish at 35 foot.
Yeah.
So last summer I started playing with walleye trolling baits, hard baits, big lip walleye trolling baits. Oh boy, did they like them. Stripers liked them. So that gave me another 10 more feet to go play with those 35-foot fish, and it made a difference.
So let me ask you this: you may mention something that give me an idea of a question, because at Carter's, everybody knows the walleye is a popular thing. A lot of times those walleyes will be out in the river channels, like in 200 something foot of water.
Right.
They'll be down 80 foot deep. Could this be modified to apply for that?
Yeah, you're gonna have to get the bigger,
Sinker?
the 8, the
heavier
number
one?
8. You're gonna have to get longer line, and you're gonna have to play with it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to play with that
To get it right depth.
Yep.
And you're probably gonna lose a lot. You're probably gonna hang a lot of trees.
And that's the downfall of this is you know, I can manipulate my bait from the bottom up.
Right.
Meaning you can go down. Let's say we're looking at baits at 20. We've been fishing 25 foot. Well, all of a sudden you start seeing stripers spiking at 20. They're like, oh crap, you're below the bait. No, reel it up 10 feet. Every 10 feet of line you bring up raises at 5 feet.
Yeah.
Just like going down.
Yeah.
That 50 foot goes to 25.
Yeah.
So reverse it back.
Just stuff you have to play with.
It is.
Based on what you're seeing, like you said earlier, you solely depend on your electronics.
Yeah.
And that's, you're seeing fish at a certain depth. You got to tweak it and tune it until you get it, until you dial them in.
That's right.
I mean, that's just, it's the same way with live bait. It's just a different. With this, you don't have to worry about the water getting too hot, not having enough salt, or whatever the case may be with live bait.
The other thing, let me tell you, a benefit of this is we talked about lead core being 300 foot back. Well, we know right now, in at least on Lanier, Hartwell, fish are in these little cuts off the main river channel. They hadn't committed to the river channel yet, all of them.
Right.
There's still a lot of fish in these narrow cuts. Well, this gives me a tighter turn radius than fishing umbrella rigs. So my turn radius, and I can get in these cuts that you can't get to with pulling big rigs or lead core, especially lead core.
How many times have you turned and hooked up?
A lot.
A lot, because that's, to me, it's the same way with pulling live bait. You make a turn, you got one side that's going faster, and you got one side that's basically not doing nothing.
That's right.
So you can really, you're giving them two options. You're giving them a fast
speed up
bait and a slow down at the same time, and sometimes that can be. A lot of times you'll pick up on that. You turn and they hit the fast bait, you may need to speed up.
I can remember when I first started fishing with you, and you would ask me those questions.
Yes.
You'd be like, "Were we turning? Were we stopped?"
Right.
And then
it matters.
It does.
When I'm pulling planer board, first thing I look at when I start hooking fish is my speed. Because a lot of times I don't even really know how fast I'm running maybe at that time. Because I'm talking or I'm doing something else. I'll look down, okay, I'm 0.8 or I'm 1.2. And, I'll go back to that.
And I've heard you tell Russ, slow down, Russ, down.
Nothing different with this.
If you're not getting bit, you got to slow down, speed up, you got to do something.
Well, yesterday, same thing. I was making a little slight turn, got a bite right off the bat. So, okay. So I put another, got that one in, put another one back, and I kind of kept it in that little turn, just big circle.
Yeah.
Put it right back out. 2 minutes later, wham, another one. And then another. And so, you're 100% right. Pay attention to the details on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got to. We was talking earlier about a guest that we had on here a couple weeks back, Alex Vasquez. I was impressed with him about how much detail that he put in. You could tell his mind, man.
He studies it, all the wind and
different.
Everything.
He's different. I can sit and listen to him for hours.
Yeah.
He's just in tune. It's the attention to details that we overlook daily.
Yeah.
And he is, I rank him right on up there, buddy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, like I say, I feel like I have been better about, as years have went on, I've learned that you have to pay more attention to details. When we're fishing up in Tennessee and stuff, we pay a lot of attention to the generation and the currents, and we study that constant. Just like Alex.
The moon.
Yeah, the moon phase. We're always, I'm looking at, if the fishing's real good, it's hard not to look at these things and say, well, maybe it's because of this, maybe it's because of that. That's just our nature. But Alex seems like he was on another level with that. He really pays attention to the close detail, and it's not just. People think it's simple. Just go out there and throw some live bait out or go throw a bucktail jig out.
Yeah.
If the fish are biting really good, maybe it's that easy, but it's not always that easy.
No, you got to dial it in. Pay attention. When I'm doing my trolling setup, I'm running 2 of these down planers, 2 lead cores, sometimes 3 lead cores with a shotgun out in the middle in my top. So I'm watching what bait are they hitting? What color? What distance are we back? Everything. Yesterday it was all underspins. Every fish, and I had everything.
Do you use any color besides chartreuse and white?
I do some. A little pink tail. Pink tail's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
A green. The green, like on this one, has been pretty solid.
That's chartreuse there. This
Yeah.
is just regular grill.
Yeah, that's been a real, and I'll tell you another one.
Have you seen days though where they would really key in?
Yes.
Seem like on a certain color.
Yes, but you know, Max got these same trailers with it's like a blue pearl. Oh, that on a white, all white chipmunk jig has been a
So
game
I remember
changer.
back in the day when me and Brandon was fishing the club tournaments and stuff. Everybody was using green and white.
Mhm.
That was the popular thing. Still is. So we was like, well, we're gonna change it up. We're gonna make a pink umbrella rig, which
Yeah.
everybody made fun of us at that time, you know, because we got a pink umbrella rig. But I'm like, these fish, they see the same stuff all the time. Maybe on a tough day, show them something different.
Absolutely.
You know, it never hurts. But I think really though, it's hard to go wrong. There's something about that chartreuse that gets their attention.
Yep.
Those stripers love it. I've seen that work in fresh and salt water.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen the same thing.
That particular rig right there was so strong last year too. It made a big difference. That was a huge on Hartwell as well.
Yeah.
Now that underspin on Hartwell is deadly for the stripers and hybrids.
Right.
Hybrids love that one too.
So this little guy here just underspins underneath this guy here.
Gives it
Just-
some flash.
just
Gives it a
give
little flash.
I know if you're walleye fishing, you want that spinner.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've used Max Pro Rig.
Yeah.
With the white
Yes.
paddle tails. It's got the
Yes.
spinners on it.
I
I've caught.
noticed you wrapped this hook with the same color.
Same stinger.
I don't troll without a stinger. I mean,
Really?
no, I won't troll without a stinger. I really don't. It's you know, the good part is I can't remember ever deep throat hooking one, even when they're eating it. So it's a short enough that you're not going to get that deep throat.
But
hook.
it's just enough. That
It's enough if they slap at it or they, you're going 3 miles an hour. They mistime it just a little.
Yep. I can see
Still
that.
gonna catch them.
It's
Yeah.
still going to catch them in that, and that one will hold it.
So look, guys, I hate to do this, but we're gonna have to wrap up. I'm afraid we're gonna get cut off again up here, man. This camera's going crazy on us. But Keith, yeah, I know a good AC guy, but the last time we had him up here, all he wanted to talk about was catching gar.
Yeah.
I'm
Gar Slayer.
Gar Slayer.
Gar Slayer.
Keith the Gar Slayer. I have to give Keith a hard time, man. It's all in good fun. I enjoy messing with him. But Brian Avery, we appreciate all you've done for us and your custom rods you built for us, man. And we appreciate everybody that's tuned in here. We appreciate
Yeah,
Brandon.
we brought those rods in good the other day.
Yeah, we did. We caught a couple nice stripers. Keith said gar rules. I wouldn't surprise me if he don't start a gar fishing club over there on Lake Lanier. But
he probably will.
Yeah, well, he'd be the guy for it, man. Keith's a great guy. But anyway, we appreciate everybody. We appreciate Brandon coming and talking about this trolling stuff. And we're gonna get Brandon back. We've already determined we're gonna get him back in January when it's colder.
Yeah.
So we don't have to burn up here upstairs, or we get one of these AC guys to come up here and up our AC unit a little
That's
bit.
right.
Come
But,
talk to us.
Yeah, and
That's
we
right.
but I will say this: during our breaks that we've got cut off on, it did allow us time to talk a little bit amongst ourselves, and we've already lined up a fishing trip with Brandon. We're going to go fishing with him.
Brandon,
And
you got another fan on there telling you hello.
yeah,
that's
Tom Becker.
Oh, brother Becker.
Tom Becker, man, he's Tom's a good guy too.
Absolutely.
He's been around for a pretty good while in the striper world.
Yeah.
And
Done a lot for the Lanier Striper Club, that's for sure.
Yeah,
He's a big supporter of that. He's done great.
Appreciate Tom and all his support. Appreciate everybody. I mean, this has been great. We've had a lot of fun with this,
Yes,
and I know it takes up time. It's a lot of work on y'all's end. Ty and Shannon, everything they've done. We want to thank everybody. Double A Graphics and Signs, Jill of All Trades, B&B Custom Outdoors, Tangle Trout Cabin Rentals, and our newest sponsor, Simpson Trucking and Grading. I want to thank all those guys. Thank Brandon. If you want to fish Lanier, Hartwell, or Destin, call Brandon Davis, Bent Rod Charters.
Bent Rod Charter.
Give him your phone number.
770-307-8636.
So give Brandon a call, and
We'll post that on Jeremy's page.
my wheels have been turning. We got live bait fishing videos out. We got some more coming with catfish video, different stuff.
Need to
We
go do this.
we want
See
to
what
go
this
with
is
Brandon and do some trolling and get all that on video.
Well, and it's a good way to learn. There's no better way to learn than firsthand. You go and see it work. some of the guys, that's been on here, tonight already, they've already got to see it in action, and they're believers.
Yeah.
And it's one more tool in the tool belt.
Yeah, I know
That's
it works. Now, it may not be my favorite way to fish, or it may not be what I'm confident in, and it's probably not. The reason why I'm not confident in it is because I don't do it a lot.
Yeah, you gotta practice. Be
Yeah,
good at it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I appreciate everybody that's tuned in here, and we've run out of time, but we're gonna get Brandon. I feel like we could go another hour if it wasn't 110 degrees up here. So, but like I say, we're getting prepped up for the dog days of summer. We got a long
Practicing.
It's been hot, and I mean we've got a lot. We've still got probably 2.5 months ahead of us. The worst may be yet to come. Who knows? But like I said, we've enjoyed having Brandon on here. I feel like I've learned a lot. Like I say, guys, you never quit learning. If you ever get to a point where you feel like you've learned everything, you need to evaluate it.
That's
because
right.
I feel like there's always room for improvements. Fishing is always evolving. Lakes are changing.
Yep.
The fish that's coming on now are not the fish that we fished on
That's
15
right.
years ago.
100%.
So, there's all kinds of changes, and you have to stay on top of that. There's Jeff Craig. Appreciate Jeff Craig. Appreciate everybody, all the support. And so we're gonna wrap it up. Shannon, you got anything else to say?
Just thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you.
All right, guys.
Come on back.
Yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Let's
Thanks.
go fishing.
Thanks.